My name's JT, and this happened 2 years ago, back in the spring of 2024. I still think about it way more than I should. My sister and her husband had planned a weekend trip for their anniversary, and they needed someone to watch their dog. It was supposed to be simple. Just stay at their house from Friday evening until Monday afternoon. Feed the dog, let him out, and make sure nothing burned down. The only thing that made me hesitate was where they lived. Their house was about 40 minutes from mine, out in rural Maine. And when I say rural, I mean it. No neighbors in sight, just trees, snow, and long, empty stretches of road. Even though it was technically spring, there was still snow everywhere, patchy in some areas, piled high in others. I got off work that Friday and drove straight there. By the time I pulled into the driveway, it was already getting dark. Their house was an older, one-story ranch with a detached feel to it, like it had been dropped in the middle of nowhere. I parked, walked up to the garage, and punched in the code my sister gave me. The door rattled open, and I stepped inside. The second I entered, their Dalmatian came running up to me, tail wagging, clearly excited to see someone. That part made things feel normal, at least. Inside the house, my sister had left a list of instructions on the kitchen counter, feeding schedule, where the leash was, stuff like that. Nothing unusual. I let the dog outside into the yard while I got his food ready, then brought him back in and fed him. After that, I made myself something quick to eat and settled onto the couch in the living room. The dog laid down on his bed, and for a while, everything felt completely fine. I had the TV on, just zoning out after the drive. Then, about half an hour in, the dog suddenly lifted his head. He let out this low woof. Not loud, just enough to make me notice. He got up and started staring out the sliding glass door that led to the backyard. I glanced over, expecting to see, I don't know, maybe an animal or something, but there was nothing. The yard was dim, just faintly lit by the reflection from inside. Snow covered most of it, untouched as far as I could tell. I grabbed the remote and flipped on the outside light. Still nothing. No movement, no shadows, no tracks that I could make out. After a second, I just assumed maybe he heard something. Wind, a branch, whatever. I opened the sliding door and let him out. Instead of wandering around like dogs usually do, he immediately took off along the side of the house. I watched him go, confused. He stopped near what I knew was the crawlspace access, this small, low door built into the foundation. He started sniffing all around it, circling, nose to the ground. It was weird, but again, I didn't think much of it at the time. Dogs get fixated on random things. After a minute or two, I called him back in, and he came, but he kept glancing over his shoulder toward that same spot. Back inside, he didn't settle down like before. He stood by the glass door, just staring out. I tried to ignore it and went back to watching TV. About another hour passed, and it was getting late. The house felt quieter than before. Not in a peaceful way, just heavy. The dog still hadn't really relaxed. He kept standing or sitting by the door, eyes locked outside. Eventually, I figured I'd let him out one more time before heading to bed. As soon as I opened the door, he bolted again. Same direction, same spot. This time, I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight, stepping outside to follow him. The cold hit me immediately. The snow crunched under my shoes as I walked along the side of the house. When I got close to the crawlspace door, something felt off right away. The dog wasn't there, and the crawlspace door was wide open. I froze. I was positive it had been closed earlier. I had watched the dog sniff around it. It definitely wasn't open like that. "Hey," I called out, mostly for the dog. "Come here." For a second, there was nothing. Then I heard it. Barking, but not from the yard. It was coming from underneath the house. My stomach dropped. I stepped closer, shining my phone into the opening. It was just darkness. A black, empty space with dirt and wood beams barely visible in the light. The barking got louder, more aggressive, not playful, not curious, angry. I crouched down near the opening. "Come on, get out of there," I said, trying to sound calm. But the dog didn't come. He just kept barking. I didn't want to go in there. Every part of me was telling me not to, but I couldn't just leave him. So after a second of hesitation, I got down on my hands and knees and crawled inside. The space was tight, maybe 3 feet high. The ground was just dirt, uneven and cold. There were cobwebs everywhere, brushing against my face as I moved forward. The smell hit me almost immediately. Not just damp earth, but something else. Something rotten. I followed the sound of the barking, my phone light shaking in my hand. It was coming from deeper inside, toward the back corner. As I crawled, I started noticing things that didn't belong there. Scraps of fabric, a plastic bottle, something that looked like old food wrappers. Even a blanket crumpled up in the corner. That's when the realization started to creep in. The dog was just around a bend in the crawl space. He wasn't moving forward, just standing there barking at something. I edged closer and slowly turned the corner. And that's when I saw it. A person. Curled up against the far wall. At first, my brain didn't even register it properly. It looked wrong. Too thin, too pale. Their face was sunken in, eyes wide and reflecting the light in a way that didn't look human at first glance. Their hair was matted, hanging in strands over their face. They were just staring at me. The dog was barking right at them, teeth bared. Then the person moved. They lifted an arm, slow, shaky, and reached toward me. Their mouth opened, and they started mumbling something. I couldn't understand a single word. That's when it fully hit me. This person had been living under the house, maybe for days, maybe longer. I didn't wait another second. I scrambled backward as fast as I could, hitting my head on one of the beams as I turned around. I didn't even care about the dog at that moment. I just needed to get out. I crawled out of the crawl space and stood up, backing away from the opening. A second later, the dog bolted out after me. We both ran inside, and I slammed the sliding door shut, locking it immediately. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely dial my phone. I called the police first, then my sister. By the time the police got there and searched the crawl space, the person was gone. No sign of them, just the trash, the smell, and the open space where they had been. My sister came home early, so I didn't stay the rest of the weekend. To this day, I can't stop thinking about that man's face in the dark, just staring back at me from that crawl space corner. And the worst part is, that space didn't look like someone had just been there for a night or two. There was too much stuff, too much of a setup, which means that person might have been living under that house for a long time, while my sister was living there, sleeping there, completely unaware that something was right underneath her.